Hello Year 7. Today we are going to try something slightly different to the way that you've normally been doing your lessons, and this will be for the next few lessons as well. So we are going to be looking at a unit on migration through time and how that has changed in Britain and the different kinds of people that settled in the British Isles and why. So the first thing I would like you to do today is to listen very carefully to my instructions. As I give a task or ask you to do something, you can pause at that point, complete the task, and then come back to the video to carry on with your learning. So the first thing we're going to look at today is who were the first English people. Now, this is a really difficult question to answer because there is a lot of historical debate about who we can truly consider to be the first people who were English. So to help you to recall some of the information that you might already know about this topic, I would like you to do the 3 questions as your do now task. So you can pause here, attempt the questions, and then we'll go through the answers when you come back. Okay, so question number 1, I asked you to name 3 cities that the Romans created in Britain. You did this at the very beginning of the year, and I would hope to see names of places like Bath, Cheltenham, Gloucester, all those sorts of places that you have heard of before. You probably did the Celts in primary school, so you might have remembered things about when they were around. So you might have talked about that they were around the year 500 BC. You might have talked about the fact that they were a collection of different warring tribes that lived in Central Europe, that they were attracted to Britain because of the farmland. You might have talked about places such as Maiden Castle in Dorset, and the fact that they were highly skilled, so they had really intricate metalworking skills. Question number 3, I asked you to look at what is the difference between BC and AD. BC means before Christ, and AD means Anno Domini. Some historians like to use the terms BCE and CE for before Common Era and Common Era. This is largely because people think that we shouldn't tie history to a Western religion. So, the first thing that we are going to look at today is what a thematic history is. We are going to be studying how migration to Britain has changed over time and what the impact has been. So we'll be looking at the experiences of people coming to Britain, what they've added to Britain, and also what they have taken away from Britain. To do that, we'll be thinking about the words political, social, economic, and military. So political is all to do with the way a country is run and who's in charge. Social is all to do with how people lived their lives, what family life was like, how people's day-to-day lives played out. Economic is anything to do with money and business. And military is all to do with armies and navies and wars and things like that. So what I want you to do, if you want to challenge yourself, is think about how you might use a symbol to represent each factor. So if you're going to draw something to represent each of those factors, what would you draw? You can pause there and draw out your symbol for each of those words. So, some of the first settlers in Britain or England or the British Isles, there are lots of different words for it, came from Central Europe. But until around 8,000 years ago, the country that we now call Britain was not an island. Instead, it was a cold and inhospitable corner of the European landmass. So this here is the European landmass. You probably wouldn't have seen this bit before, okay? Early humans could walk from Britain, to Britain from Europe, across a stretch of dry land, and this is called a land bridge, and at the time it was called Doggerland. Now, they were able to do that until rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age submerged this land and created the islands that we live on today. So all of this land still exists, but it's now underwater. The early humans that came from Central Europe were probably hunter-gatherers. Now, a hunter-gatherer is someone who survives by hunting, fishing, and gathering wild food rather than farming. However, around 3000 BC, the people who moved discovered agriculture. So they discovered farming, and they began to grow their own food, showing that some people certainly permanently settled here. So archaeologists have evidence that some people permanently settled here because there is evidence of farming. So, what I would like you to do now is to quickly pause this video and draw out the table that is on the screen at the moment. Now, what I would like you to do is to use the information that's attached on your Show My Homework to complete this table. Now, you might even be able to add some extra information that you already know, perhaps about the Romans or the Celts. The key questions that you need to answer are: when did they arrive in Britain? Why did they come to Britain? What did they bring with them? And what impact did they have on Britain? So what happened to Britain, or the people in Britain, or the environment in Britain as a result of either the Celts or the Romans being here? Once you've done that and you've added as much detail as you can to that table, I want you to have a think about who you think contributed more to Britain, the Romans or the Celts, and why you think that. I'd like you to submit your work so that we can see, and I look forward to seeing it. Good luck.